Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is an honor and a pleasure to introduce to you the Chancellor of Austria, Mr. Karl Nehammer.
Thank you.
Mr. Chancellor, welcome to Greece, welcome to Delphi, and thank you for this discussion. You are in Greece after a trip to Ghana, Angola, and Egypt. It is clear that Europe is trying to gain closer ties with African countries. Why is that? What's the goal?
First of all, I want to say thank you for the invitation. It's really an honor to be here. You know, I had Old Greek in school, so it's a privilege to stay at the near of the Oracle of Delphi. So thank you very much for the invitation. Well, it was a 3-day trip with a high-level delegation of economic partners. And Africa is, I think, the continent which is also a kind of the future for Europe. I started in Angola. Afterwards, I went to Ghana and then to Egypt. And it was really impressive what I saw there. First of all, Africa is a very young continent. It's unbelievable how young. Only a number for you. In Egypt, they are now 105 million people, and 60 million of them are under 25.
Impressive.
So you see, the number is real impressive. And on the other side, the African continent is a continent with a lot of raw materials. And you know, if we think about the future and if we think about to become more independent from fossil energy, we have to think about new partnerships. And so I think the African continent is a good partner for that. The countries are very different. We have to learn about the history. And I think it was in one of the last council summits where we decided as European prime ministers to take care for Africa more than we did 10, 20, 30 years before.
So big opportunities there. Last year, another trip of yours was discussed a lot. You were the first Western...
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm sure you know. You were the first Western leader to meet with President Putin. What conclusions did you draw from this meeting, and how optimistic are you now that all this will come to an end soon?
Well, first of all, I have to say I condemn in the strongest terms the unjustified war of Russia against Ukraine. The decision to meet President Putin was done because I thought we have to do everything to bring this war to an end. In this time, he already started the war. First, I visited Kiev. Afterwards, I went to Moscow. And first of all, what I saw was the brutality of war in Ukraine. I was not only in Kiev, I also visited Bucha. You know, there's the mass grave. And it was also impressive when you go there. We had to leave Kiev because the bridges were bombed, so we had a special way to Bucha through the woods, and we saw a lot of destroyed heavy and light tanks of the Russians. And when I met President Putin, I confronted him with that, what I saw. And I'm a soldier, I'm an officer myself, and he knows that. And I told him that the loss of his soldiers, the number is huge. And he didn't show any sign of impression. He was not impressed by the dead numbers of soldiers. He was impressed by the fact of the sanctions against the Russian Federation. Now, 1 year later, yeah, please.
You saw him determined to draw this war as long as it takes.
Yeah, he was and he is, I think, complete in his own war logic. And before I go there, I had a lot of preparation, and I met some presidents who knew him better than I. For me, it was the first time. And that told me that he will do everything for a victory. And now we see that the war is going on, and so many soldiers, and let me say, so many soldiers and civilians completely senseless die in this unjustified war, and he will not stop.
So you're not optimistic of having peace soon?
Maybe now we have a chance again to have maybe a chance for a ceasefire. You know, I had a lot of contact also to President Erdogan in this time, because when the war broke out, we had Istanbul peace talks. It was the only format which really worked because Russians and Ukrainians talked to each other directly. And maybe we have a chance again. Why? There are still talks for the green corridors to bring the corn out of Odessa, on the one hand. On the other hand, the International Red Cross is doing a marvelous job because behind the scenes they always negotiate to exchange the war prisoners. Mm-hmm. And also in this process, Russians and Ukrainians are talking to each other. So I think what we can do is to support whoever. Now President Lula is starting a new initiative for peace talks because I think the most important thing is that this war ends.
This confrontation with Russia led to an energy crisis.
Yeah.
We managed to get through the winter. The question is, how much more prepared will we be as Europe for the next winter?
Well, it's a good question. You know, 1 year ago, the panic in Austria was huge that we will not have enough energy. You know, we have a really high dependence on Russian gas. And we have a huge capacity for storage in gas. More than 90 terawatt hours we can storage. But our storages were empty. Only 15% of the storages were filled. The Russians planned the war. And the Russians also planned not to fill their own storages of Gazprom. Mm-hmm. So the pressure was huge. Now we are in a completely different situation. You know, now we have 65% of our storages filled. It was possible to get other gas than Russian gas. Last year, in some months, they delivered only 30% of gas. 30% only. And our dependence was 80%. So now I think what we learned about is it shows us that we have to do everything to get more and more independent from fossil energy. So that's the reason why we support all initiatives in the EU for renewable energy. And we found new partners. Mm-hmm. LNG is the new key to get more and more independent from Russian gas.
Mr. Chancellor, the energy crisis also aggravated the problem of inflation in Europe. Citizens all over Europe, you know better than me, see their income constantly decreasing. And the question is, what do you think will happen here? At the same time, there is a debate in Europe about returning or not to strict fiscal rules.
Well, you know, I think every member state of the EU decided various measures to support our citizens, to safeguard our economy. And this all costs a lot of money, we have to be honest. And maybe now the time is getting better and better to look also now for our budgets, because deficit spending is dangerous in the European Union especially. And on the other hand, what we see also, we are much more stronger than we believed before this war broke out. In the gas question, in the resilience of our economy and industry. Look at the facts. The economy is now growing again, although the inflation is high. And I think it shows us that there will be a good perspective in the future, and we have to believe in ourselves.
So you think that we should return to strict fiscal rules?
When it is possible, you know, because now the deficit spending was necessary because we had to help the people, we had to help the economy. You have the first time of the history of Austria, we bought ourselves as Republic of Austria gas. We spent 3 billion million euros for that. So enormous costs for every member state. So I think it's necessary to look at the budget, but it's also necessary to safeguard and to help the people in the crisis.
Many say that all this will lead to a new conflict for the economy between the countries of the north and the countries of the south.
I don't think so. I think also because of the war, we developed a new culture in between the EU Council. We are now more trustful to each other. We try to understand us, each country, and tries to understand each other better than before. And we learned that to stay unified is the best way to fight against the war.
Mr. Chancellor, today's situation, what changes does it bring to the EU enlargement policies?
Yeah. First of all, for the Austrian position, it's very important to give a strong perspective to the states of the Western Balkans. They are now waiting for a long time, and look at the example for North Macedonia. I met the Prime Minister 2 weeks ago. And so they reached so much efforts, and we have now to show them that we want to bring them closer to the European Union. And for that reason, for us as Austrians, it's not possible there is a fast-track procedure for Ukraine, because this is a difficult sign for the Western Balkans, a difficult signal to them. So yes, I think we have to do everything what we can do now to fasten this process. And I think it was a good decision to do this European political community, to bring them closer to us. Yes, and I think that's the way we have to do it.
You know very well that Greece faces Turkish provocations many years now. You have also been to Cyprus. And do you believe that Europe is doing enough to bring Turkey to its senses, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely necessary, and it is a theme, an issue in every EU Council. Prime Minister Mitsotakis always announced how important it is that Greece is supported. And in every talk with Turkey, we should try as prime ministers to show Erdogan it's never ever a chance for him to make politics with kind of military attacks, what he is now talking sometimes about it when we talk about the islands. And we all could see what does it mean if Turks are aggressive, if we remember the situation at the Evros. It was unbelievable what I could see there. In these times, we sent a special unit of the police to Greece, and the police officers were so impressed when they came back to Austria and they reported us what they saw. They showed us the videos, what had happened on this border. And in this time, the European Union showed clearly unified stay with Greece in this period of time. And I think this is the only answer we can give to Turkey.
Greece is requesting funding from the European Union to expand the wall in Evros. Do you agree on that?
Totally. We try as Austria to convince the Commission that the European Commission should support border countries who have to invest in the border protection. And the Commission always says, no, we don't want to build fences, and now Austria is a lot under pressure. We had last year 109,000 asylum seekers, and we are 9 million people in Austria. It's a huge number. And we are not a border country, we are a landlocked country. And it was really also really new in between the EU Council, because Austria and the Netherlands raised the pressure against the Commission that we have to put this issue again to the European Council. And it happened. And it was the first time that we had the discussion without border countries against landlocked countries, or first migration countries against second migration countries. No, we stay together. So this is the reason why I still try my best to bring the Commission in this way, and we had solutions after this Council where we said it is also possible to support technical equipment. Yeah, so maybe there's a little bit more chance now to finance also physical barriers. Yeah, we will support that. again and again. Yeah, because it's so necessary. And it's not only Greece, it's Bulgaria as well. I visited Bulgaria. The border between Bulgaria and Turkey, the border fence, has a lot of holes inside. And we have now a problem there with irregular and illegal migration. So we have to support Bulgaria in protecting the border, like we have to do it with Greece, like we have to do it with Italy. And I think this should be the way.
Closing, Mr. Chancellor, we have elections here in Greece in 3 weeks. You and Mr. Mitsotakis belong to the European People's Party. Any message?
It's a very sensitive question as a Chancellor, but Prime Minister Mitsotakis, the Minister of Migration, Notis Mitsotakis, he's a really close friend of mine. I know what he did in the migration crisis. I saw that cooperation and also sharing knowledges and support each other is a high value for Notis Mitsotakis as also for the Prime Minister. So I wish all of them all the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you.